Hi, everybody. Can I have your attention? Thank you. Hi. My name's Alyssa. I'm from Hard Rock Stoneworks, and I'm here with Dwyer Marble and Stone Supply. And today we're presenting FreePower, which is a wireless charging device that goes under the counter, but Caleb will get into all that soon. I just wanted to introduce myself and say thank you for coming. We appreciate, your attendance. Inside the bags, you'll find, goodies. You have your little Michigan mitten cut out with a QR code on the back that goes to our website. The flyers in the bags is our designer loyalty royalty program. So if you sign up, you can actually get money back for using Hard Rock as your fabricator, for referring friends. Any industry professional, you don't have to be a designer to sign up for that program. But just wanted to say that we're happy to be here with Dwyer. They are our brand advocate, our preferred partner in the terms of like the wholesale world. So what Hard Rock does is fabricate, install the product, and Dwyer provides the product to us. So beautiful slabs of porcelain, quartz, natural stone. But I'll let Kristen go into what Dwyer does. As far as Hard Rock, though, we are located in Sterling Heights. We do have a booth here in the Michigan Design Center right next to Dwyer and the Resource Center next door. So if you ever needed to, look at our product over there, we do have samples. But if you wanted to come out to Sterling Heights, we have our gallery, our showroom there as well. So again, thank you for coming. I'll introduce Kristen, who will talk a little bit about Dwyer.
Thank you. We each got one. We each got a mic. Hi, welcome everybody. Good morning. I'm Kristen Holder from Dwyer Marble and Stone. I'm the Director of Product and Business Development there. And we are the exclusive distributors of FreePower. I see a couple familiar faces here from last year. Last year we did a presentation that this product just had rolled out from KBIS. It was brand spanking new. In fact, you guys got a little sneak peek before anybody else did because I had one unit and I stole it and I brought it to the presentation so you could see it. But we are the exclusive distributor of FreePower basically east of the Mississippi. So we sell this unit to fabricators. There's a process for the fabricator to go through that Caleb will cover that allows them to be a certified installer, and Hard Rock was the first to jump to the table. And so they are experts in the field. And so if you're looking for a FreePower installation for your clients or your home, or you have projects that are going on and you want to spec, they're the go-tos as well as us at Dwyer Marble and Stone. Where we fit into the mix, because sometimes there's a little confusion with our partnership. And so we are the wholesale importer of record. So we import materials, hard surfaces, countertops, tile, mosaic, veneer, slab material, right, all over the world. And it is our job to basically scout the world, edit it, for really good partners, really high quality product, and factories that produce. And then we import it and then we sell it to our fabricators or our installers. Okay, so we're the conduit between the actual material and the world market, which is really fun right now. So, and it's also our responsibility to educate as much as possible about the materials that we bring in. And so that's what I was doing here last year. We did a presentation with Hard Rock that was Mother Earth and made by man, because there's a lot of confusion between different materials. So we pride ourselves in trying to be as educated as possible about the materials. So at Dwyer Marble and Stone, we also have a slab gallery, a showroom, and a team there to help you and your clients with any materials that you have questions about or specify. And so please reach out. If you have any questions and there's some little confusion, just raise your hand, give us a buzz, or give Hard Rock a buzz, and we'll help you out with your specifications. Okay, so when I was here, and we did a little sneak peek with FreePower, which everybody was really privileged to see it for the very first time. This guy was on the floor. He was on the floor at the KBIS, which is the Kitchen and Bath International Show. And we had just hired Caleb, and we said, guess where you're going? You're going to Vegas. So, probably, I think it was the first week. First day. There you go. We're all about throwing people in the deep end of the pool. It's like, okay, we're just going to sink or swim. but he went on the floor and he did a great job for us. And he became our FreePower expert around the country. So Caleb has been out and about east of the Mississippi, speaking to fabricators and folks and educating about the FreePower technology and what that is doing to, let's call it the kitchen and bath in the residential world. And so he is our resident expert, and we liked him so much that we decided to promote him. So he is now our director of slab sales. He oversees our slab team, and we distribute to 8 states every week. I'm not sure if you've been over to our campus in Farmington Hills, but we'd love to invite you and give you a tour over there. And so he is now in charge of some other folks too, in addition to doing things like this. So we have our team here. We are so gracious, or so happy and appreciative that Hard Rock allows us an opportunity to kind of speak about products like this and our partnership. And we're very grateful. It's been a very long partnership, and so we treasure that. And we welcome you to ask any questions that you have. So I'm going to hand over the presentation to Caleb. Welcome to FreePower.
Yeah. Can everyone hear me all right with this mic? Good? All right. First of all, thank you everyone for being here. Take some time out of your day to come learn about FreePower. I want to thank Hard Rock for giving us the chance to partner up today to teach you guys a little bit more about this technology. So again, my name is Caleb Cordner with Dwyer, Marble, and Stone. And FreePower is a undermounted wireless charging technology that's pretty new to the market. So the first thing we're going to be doing today is just giving you guys the introducing FreePower video, and that's going to touch on a lot of points about how the technology works, where you can put it throughout the home, as well as going through the app functionality and all that. Kind of a good jumping off point for today. As far as questions, I think we're going to leave those till the end. I do have some people walking around with mics to take those questions, but if you have those, make sure you keep them in mind so we can answer those at the end here. So we'll go ahead and get started. So again, just a little introduction video to kind of set the tone for what we're going to be covering today. And everyone, again, this is the Design with FreePower sales training. So just a quick raise of hands. Who in the room has heard of FreePower, knows a little bit about FreePower, just so I can kind of get an idea of where everyone's at? Just a couple. All right, so this is some brand new stuff, which is a lot of fun for me. I get to debut this very fun and cool technology to you today. So what we're going to be covering today, we're going to go through a FreePower intro. That's going to be a little bit about FreePower as a company, who they are, how they got here, how long they've been in the market. We're going to go through the materials and testing, meaning we're going to talk about what type of countertops and surfaces FreePower can be installed in, how it works through the countertop. We're going to go through translucency testing, meaning how do we know if that halo right there is going to be able to shine through your countertop, and what do we do if we can't have that halo shine through the countertop. And then finally, we'll get into the more of the design thing, which is going to be the charging halo placement, basically the do's and don'ts of where we should be placing these in the house in a commercial setting. FreePower's mission is bringing power to every surface so we never think about charging again. This is something that their owner and founder, Jake Slatnick, is, when he debuted FreePower, right, he had the wireless charging, he had cords everywhere. He was thinking, why can't I just place my phone on this countertop right in front of me and charge my phone? So he got in the lab and ended up coming up with FreePower and rolled it out to the market. So FreePower, relatively new company, got started in 2017. In 2019, they went on a show called Shark Tank that I'm sure a lot of you have seen or heard of before. On Shark Tank, they ended up striking a deal with 3 of the sharks, and that was basically their jumping off point, right? Their initial funding, their kickoff. From there, working with consumer electronic company like Nomad to generate their Base Station Pro, which is very, very similar to what we see in the countertop model today. From there, working with companies like Tesla and Rivian to further develop the model until we reached 2024, which was basically their introduction into our market. So in 2024 KBIS, as a first-time presenter, this is where they debuted the undermounted wireless charger that we see today in our market. Being a first-time exhibitor or presenter out of 700 people, they were able to take home the Best in Show award. As well, awards at Consumer Electronics Show for innovation, at the HD Expo out in Vegas, Product Design Award, many other awards. Is basically saying it's a testament from the design community of people that have seen this in person at these events and shows, how blown away they were with the technology. So being the exclusive distributor and partner with FreePower in the Midwest and as Kristen says, east of the Mississippi, it's been a very fun ride for us the last year of getting to introduce this to designers and builders and fabricators across the states that we cover. So it's been very exciting, and with that first year of build, we're at the point now where it's starting to really get fun. So this is going to be the key features page, kind of the high-level overview. When I'm discussing this with a customer or a homeowner, this is usually the first thing I show to get a kind of overall understanding of the product. If we start in the top left up there, and let's see, all right, they shouldn't have given me a red light. So the three main things with FreePower are going to be seamless, elegant, and embedded. So seamless, that refers to what we call the freedom of placement. So as you guys see right here on this sample, there is a charging halo. In that charging halo, there's going to be multiple charging coils. Those coils are what produce the charge that counter with your phone that has a coil that receives it. So anywhere I place my phone in this surface area, it can receive a charge, hence the freedom of placement. The elegant, that refers to the 300 LED lights around the circumference of the device that, as you see in the top right, is fully customizable in the app that we will get into here in just a little bit. And then finally, embedded. This is where our friends at Hard Rock come into play, the fabricator. How this is installed is that your fabricator uses a CNC or a 5-axis, and they actually route out a pocket underneath the surface where the device is fully embedded within the stone. So when you're looking flush with the countertop, and what you can see right here is that there's not much hanging down. Aesthetically, it's pretty pleasing to not see any cords or anything stuck below the surface. So with FreePower, especially in a 3CM, that device is going to be fully tucked up into the top, so there's nothing below the surface. I've covered the awards, just jumping down to the bottom right. So charging rate per device. It says 15 watts. Each coil on that surface area can produce a charge of 15 watts. The easiest way for me to explain that is it's about 85 to 90% charging speed of plugging your phone in a wall. So what you're losing on the charging speed, you're gaining on that mobility, the freedom of placement of tossing your phone on a drop zone, tossing a phone on your island. You're losing a little bit of charging speed, but you are gaining a little bit of that mobility. This device right here, this is 3 devices compatible. So that means you could have 3 iPhones, that is Apple, Samsung, Google, AirPods cases as well. You could have 3 devices on that at one time. They will all charge at their own speed. But it does not work with, that is laptops, that is tablets. That is because they are not up to Qi wireless charging standards. That's Qi spelled QI. It's an industry standard for wireless charging, meaning that those devices do not have the same charging coil in the back that our phones do, right? So it wouldn't surprise me in a couple of years, maybe a year or so from now, if those devices end up having something in the newer models that have a charging coil where you could put your laptop on there and work at a coffee shop or something like that. But for now, it is just iPhones, Apple, Samsung, Google, AirPods cases. Finally, the way to install this, it's very nice. You don't have to get an electrician involved unless you need to, but it is a 110 standard outlet. So the way this device plugs in is the same way as the display as it would be as an embedded unit. So therefore, it's a 6-foot plug. It is a 110 standard. It can be daisy chained. It can be hardwired. It can be used on extension cords that will not void the warranty on the device. So again, ideally, if you have a 110 outlet with some, under a cabinetry or near wherever you want to put this, 6-foot cord, it's very easy to install and you can walk away. All right, how FreePower compares. So there's been other wireless chargers in the market. When I go to the airport and I'm traveling to present FreePower, they have the little, cross mark on the coffee table where I need to go charge my phone. And unless you line up your phone exactly over where that cross is, right, sometimes you might not get that charge. It can be pretty upsetting. You put this on your nightstand, you wake up in the middle of the night in the morning, and your phone's not charging, right? That's pretty frustrating. With FreePower, there's that freedom of position we talk about. So you can know, rest assured, you toss your phone in that charging halo, you can walk away knowing your phone's going to charge. FreePower, again, does have the multiple device charging, and it is the only thing in the market that has the app-controlled charging halo. Again, we'll get into the app functionality here in just a little bit. The firmware upgradable, this is a very important part. So because FreePower does tie in via an app to your local Wi-Fi, it's similar to our phones, our tablets, our laptops, where as you're working with the internet, as updates and upgrades roll out to the software, it's going to automatically update itself. So therefore, if you go to install FreePower, your customer doesn't have to worry about getting FreePower 2.0 installed next year for a bigger or badder model. Once the hardware is actually installed, it'll constantly update itself and stay on the most up-to-date version of the firmware. The one thing that FreePower is not, and that is do-it-yourself install capable. This is not something that I can go on Amazon or Best Buy and purchase and try and stick on the underside of my cabinetry or my countertops. This is something that requires a fabricator to route out the pocket per the critical dimensions that we'll get into as well. But you need to mill down that countertop to a specific height left in the countertop for that charge to be able to work through that surface. I've covered the 15-watt charging. The last thing I do want to touch on is the long-term warranty. FreePower is a 5-year warranty, which means other wireless charging devices, you go to Best Buy, you go to Amazon and pick up a wireless charger. You might get 1 year, you might get 2 if you buy the extended warranty. With FreePower, out of the box, installed 5-year warranty with a full help center within the app. So ideally, this is set up where you install it, your customer can just navigate that on their own, right? This is not something that you or your fabricator will actively have to check on if a light goes out, if a fan stops working, that you are responsible for. It's similar to any technology that I would buy from Best Buy, right? If the warranty is covered in it, they can go directly through the support in the app, and they can get a new unit swapped out if need be through warranty. Okay, look below the surface. I don't want to get too into the weeds on this. On the tech side, I just want everyone to understand how FreePower works, how the device actually works. Yes?
You mentioned that you have to have a certain thickness to the countertop.
Yes, ma'am.
I like to use 3 cm.
Mm-hmm.
Will it work with it rather than 2 cm?
Absolutely. Yep, 2 cm, 3 cm, all the way down to 4.5 mil. It will definitely work through any top. What you do is, with a 3 cm, you mill out a little bit more of the material than you would as a 2 cm. So ideally, what you're leaving left in the stone from here to the device is a specific thickness. So no matter the thickness of the stone that you're working with, it's always getting milled down to the same Z height of what we have left in the stone. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so a little bit under the surface, how this device actually works. The first thing we're gonna look at is the structural cover. Bang, love this. So the structural cover, what that is a hard, rigid plastic surface. And what that does serves 2 purposes. One, it is a hard, rigid cover. So it goes all the way up into the surface and touches the underside of that stone. Acts as another layer of structural integrity support to make sure that that top doesn't crack or anything happens to it, right? It adds another layer of support as well. You can see that it has vents in it. And what that does, it works in tandem with this cooling system down here. This cooling system is a very, very integral part of this device. Without proper airflow, it's gonna make the device overheat, which reduces the charging speeds, which makes your surfaces warm to touch. So how this works is that the cooling system blows cold air up over the device, keeping the device cold, keeping it running to its full capacity of charging speeds, as well as it goes up to the surface, making sure that this is cool to touch. So you're not picking up phones that are warm. It keeps everything cold to touch. Number 3 is gonna be the transmitting technology, and that is that freedom of position that I talk about. That is the 30 charging coils over the surface area of the FreePower device. So where our phones have 1 charging coil in the back of it, FreePower has the 30. So wherever I get a match, when I place this down in here, that's where we can get it to work. And then the last thing is gonna be the charging halo, right? That's the 300 LEDs around the circumference of the device that are able to shine through a surface if it is translucent. And then the mounting system is what ties that all in together. All right, jumping into the app functionality. Let me just make sure I'm connected on this to show everyone. Perfect. All right, so with FreePower, as we saw in the video, there are a couple different app settings. Currently, there are 3 app settings. First one is going to be always on, which means, as you would understand, the device and the light is always shining through to the surface. The next mode is gonna be the night shift mode. And what that means is that it works with your time zones, sunrise and sunset. If I had this in a countertop, right, Eastern time zone, as sunset happened at a certain time, the light would go ahead and dim itself down. In the morning, sunrise occurred, that light's gonna automatically pop back up and come back to life. And then the most important function, I would say, is going to be the wave to wake function. Something we get asked a lot is, does the light always need to be on, right? It could get pretty annoying if that light's always shining through the surface. So with wave to wake mode, what happens is that light stays off until it comes in contact with something that needs a charge. So what you do, you wave your phone over the surface. It recognizes that something needs a charge. Once it picks up on that charge, that light comes on. After about 5 seconds, that light's gonna dissipate and go away, but my device will still be charging. So what's really nice about it is that aesthetically, You won't have to have that light always on. After a couple seconds, it's going to go ahead and turn off, but my device will still charge. So not only is it nice aesthetically to not have that light shine, but it also is a party trick, right? If you have some friends over at the basement bar and you tell them to just slide their phone off the countertop and a couple lights pop on, they're going to be asking you, how'd you do it and where'd you get it? So that's one of the most important features though. And then currently as well, there is 8 preset colors in the FreePower app. There's Elegant, which is the plain white feature, Ocean, Fire, Calm, Sunset, Ice, Sunrise, and my favorite, Party. So right now, 8 preset colors. Ideally, what we're hoping to see by the end of May is a app update that's going to have custom colorways, meaning there'll be a color wheel where your homeowner can custom select what color is going to be through the surface. So if I had this in a basement bar, I could do that Lions Honolulu blue coming through that surface of my basement bar. So they can fully customize that. But as of right now, if you had this installed, there would be the 8 preset colors. But that doesn't mean, again, because it does work via the app, it'll update itself automatically. So just because it doesn't have it now and it gets installed now doesn't mean that capability is not available down the road. All right, what type of materials can FreePower be placed in? And this is the fun part. FreePower can go in any surface that's not solid metal. So that means it's not just quartz. FreePower is natural stone. FreePower is wood, glass, porcelain, decked in, laminate, really insert name here as long as the surface is not solid metal, because if this interacts with metal, it's gonna actually turn the charge off because it doesn't wanna accidentally heat up metal, making that surface not just warm to touch, but hot to touch. So it is pretty open-ended. We do see this application a lot more in quartz because we do know the consistency of quartz as a material and how strong it is, right? But that's not saying that you can't put this in a quartzite. You can't put this in wood, a laminate, a butcher block, right? Knowing that as well is that all the thicknesses from 3 cm, 2 cm, all the way down to a thinner 4.5 or a 6 millimeter porcelain, you would just create a substrate on the underside of that top to allow the bracket to glue on. But the majority of what we see is 3 cm, 2 cm quartz as well. What you see here is a quartz top that is translucent, meaning the light's gonna shine through the surface. You'll be able to see that light, that halo, come right through. There are gonna be instances where tops aren't gonna have that capability. So what you see on the bottom left is the halo and glow etching. What that means is that if you have a quartz product or if you have a natural stone product that does not have translucency, one thing you can do is actually etch out like a groove where the outside of this would be. So if you had a homeowner that's very adamant about wanting to know where the device lives and they want to be able to run their hands over the surface, that can definitely be done on the surface to indicate where the device is. Some people might not want that to damage their, not damage, but to kind of deface their countertops, and they can understand where the device is just by having an idea of where it lives in the countertop, and by placing their phone here, they'll see their phone light up and charge. But ideally, what I recommend is that when you're selecting slabs with your customers, your homeowners, is that we try and guide them to something that's gonna be translucent, because I believe that's half the fun of the device, right? Seeing the light come through the surface, the customization, that is half the fun of FreePower. Down here on the bottom right, again on translucency, different quartzes, different natural stones are gonna have different translucency levels. So what you can see here is it's kind of hard to see on the PowerPoint, but there are varying degrees of translucency of the light coming through to the surface. Let me just make sure. Okay, that's a little bit easier to see. So one way we can do this and one way we can test for translucency is using a field test of taking our phone and using the flashlight on the back of it or taking an LED flashlight. And what you can do is you would take your phone, hold it up to the edge of the quartz sample, and you guys can be able to see that light passing through the stone a little bit. Because at the end of the day, this is only trying to shine through about 5 millimeters of surface. So if you can hold your phone up to the edge of this, like you see in the image, and that light is passing through, it's a pretty good indicator that that quartz top is going to be translucent when you install the device. One thing I tell people is we can't always assume that light quartzes, white quartzes are gonna be translucent. This is Temple White, Dwyer Marble and Stones, pure white quartz that we have out in the market. And as you can see, if I put the light up to it, there is zero light shining through this. So one thing we don't want to do is assume that due to the quartz's color and how light it is, that halo is going to shine through. Last thing we want is customer selects Temple White. Your fabricator does the cut, does the pocketing, you do the install, plug the device in, and then we're all standing there hand on hips asking where my light is. It's because we didn't check for translucency. So always keep that in mind when you're selecting a top and the customer is really, enthusiastic about wanting to see that light, that we are checking to make sure that that is translucent. The other way to do this, and I'll show you at the end of the PowerPoint here, there is a database on FreePower's website that has a bunch of different quartz manufacturers listed by translucency. So for example, they have MV's 40 full selection, full color line, and they list them by translucency. So instead of doing the field test, you can just go on there and it'll basically tell you if that light's coming through or not. All right, charging halo placement. This is basically the do's and don'ts of where we can place FreePower throughout the home. And as you can see, I usually tell people to go down to number 6, and that's going to be all accessible surfaces. So there, of course, are some things that we can't do with FreePower that I'll get into here in the next slide, but this kind of opens Pandora's box onto where we can place it. Island seating, overhangs, next to stovetop, so it can be heat adjacent. Next to sinks, it can be water adjacent. Bathroom vanities, foyers, drop zones, really anywhere that you're able to mill down that pocket to and it's not one of these, then FreePower is able to be installed. So this is the where not to place. Because on the underside of this device, if you guys can all see, there is a bracket that is glued on to the underside of this stone, meaning it's not a flat surface. So therefore, we cannot place this over a support wall, right? We can't put that top down and it's gonna go right over a structure. It needs to make sure there's a little bit of clearance on there, which kind of leads me to number 2, which is over a cabinet structure. Yes, I know this slide says you cannot put it over a cabinet structure. That is for any solid top cabinetry, right? So if you place that top down, what we have to make sure is it's not pressing up on anything. As well, as I said earlier, that fan is very important to the performance of the device. So if you're putting this over a cabinet structure that has a flat top on it, what we want to do is mill out maybe a pocket or a small circle on the top of that cabinet structure so that device can have some breathability and draw air from inside the cabinet and it's not restricted. Sealed off locations. We have to remember that if this top goes down and the device is plugged in, we have to make sure we can get in, plug the device in, service the device for any warranty claims or anything like that. And then finally, over a heat generating, over a moisture generating appliance like a dishwasher, right? If we place it right above a dishwasher, that moisture, that heat is gonna affect the capabilities of the unit and maybe even damage the unit. This last slide I'll touch on just briefly. It's the placement ergonomics, and it's more or less the psychology of where we want to be placing these. And what we're trying to do is navigate the homeowner to place these devices at convenient areas, high foot traffic areas. Our customers are going to be spending a decent amount of money on these devices. We want to make sure that when they're installed, that they will get utilized and they're not a pain to use. An example of that would be if I was at a conference table and the FreePower device was in the dead center of the table, I'm less inclined as someone who's addicted to my phone to place my phone all the way in the middle of the table and have it out of my personal reach, right? I know all of us are, at least me, the whole time I'll be looking at my phone being like, boy, oh boy, I wish my phone was a little bit closer to me right now. So what we're trying to get at is when we're installing these, we want these to be with the immediate convenience area within my personal reach. So as you see on these overhangs, right, these are within arm's reach of the person. So again, these aren't requirements. These are recommendations, right? If a customer wants to put it in the center of the table, who are we to say no, right? At the end of the day, they're gonna do what they want. But what we can do is provide a recommendation and guidance for these devices to be utilized, high foot traffic, convenient areas. Touched on this a little bit before, but again, each device has a 6-foot plug standard to the 110 outlet. For cable management, what you see down here on the bottom right, each device comes with a mounting bracket for the adapter that has a peel-off adhesive strip that you can stick to the inside of the cabinetry that does have those wings on there so you can wrap around for cable management. What I will tell you up there on the top right, what you see on this overhang where the cord is ran into the cabinetry on top of the cabinet structure, right? There's 2 ways to do it, and that's talking with your installer, talking with your fabricator about, are we gonna route out a path in the cabinetry? Are we routing out a small hole in the stone? Right, because we have to make sure if that's going in that direction, we put the top down, it's not pinching off the cord, turning off the device. So as far as cable management goes, what you see in the bottom right is really what comes with the unit, the adhesive strip on the back of that bracket for the adapter. Any other cable management is a conversation to be had with the installer or the fabricator about where that cord is gonna go. The last thing I'm gonna show here is gonna be that translucency database. Give me 2 seconds. All right, so again, on FreePower's website, which is freepower.io, everything I pulled today is gonna be on that website, right? So the translucency database that we're about to talk about right here, the design placement, the types of tops, anything about the pocket depth that your fabricator is routing out. That's all gonna be available on the website to the public. But right here, what we're gonna be talking about is the stone translucency database. And what this is, again, FreePower has worked with a bunch of different quartz manufacturers and compiled the database of their products and ranked them based on translucency and clarity. Translucency refers to how much light, how bright that light's gonna be when it comes through the surface. Clarity refers to how true to color. So what I mean by that is, for example, we'll take MV Quartz. It's surprising that that's the one that popped up automatically. Who would have thought? So what FreePower has done is they've taken all 40 of our colors, our beautiful colors, and they've given them a ranking based on translucency and clarity. And the one I want to pull up for everyone is comparison. This Amalfi that we see right here, it's going to have a high translucency and an A clarity ranking, meaning if it is on the white light setting in this Amalfi, you would see it come through that top, pure as day, pure bright white light. As comparison to this Vienna right here, has a medium translucency and a B clarity ranking, meaning this same white light will come through a little bit dimmer and it's gonna have a yellowish hue to it. Just because due to the material composition, it's not gonna let it shine as pure as it needs to. And the last thing I'll show here, which I did show you guys already, but for example, this Temple White, right? It shows a none on the translucency. Just reiterating what I said about, doing our due diligence to check out, is that slab gonna be translucent? Is it gonna let light through? We just wanna make sure we're checking that box when we're working with the homeowner on that. But as well, on here, Envy is listed. There are a bunch of different quartz manufacturers, Silestone, Cambria, MSI. What I will tell you is that if it's not in this database, if there's a quartz product that's not in this database, I would reach out to myself, your fabricator at Hard Rock, and we can work with FreePower. Just because it's not published yet doesn't mean that they don't have a ranking internally for it. So if you guys can't do the test where you hold the light up, right, and that's not good enough indicator for you, you can definitely reach out to somebody at Dwyer or Hard Rock and we can get that answer for you as well. The only thing is there is not a database for natural stone. Right, what I recommend is that trying to do the field test on natural stone. If you're really not sure, again, I would reach out to Hard Rock, I would reach out to Dwyer, or we can do some more digging on that product to make sure your customer gets the resolution they want. Well, that, just under half an hour, that does it for my presentation today.